You're in the middle of a calm, ordinary conversation when your dog suddenly walks over to your guest and does something deeply uncomfortable. No hesitation, no awareness of human norms, it goes straight for the most awkward place possible. The room freezes. You rush to pull your dog away, apologizing repeatedly, assuming something just went wrong. But nothing went wrong. What actually happened in that moment wasn't random, rude, or poorly trained behavior. It was something far more precise, a biologically driven action shaped over thousands of years. And once you understand what your dog was really doing, that moment stops being embarrassing and starts becoming incredibly revealing. To make sense of this behavior, you need to shift your perspective completely. Humans rely heavily on sight. You recognize people by faces, posture, clothing, and movement. Your interpretation of reality is visual first. Dogs operate differently. Their primary interface with the world is scent. A dog's nose contains around 300 million olfactory receptors, compared to roughly 6 million in humans. Even more striking, the part of the brain responsible for processing smells is vastly more developed, proportionally dozens of times larger than ours. So where you see a person standing in front of you, your dog experiences something entirely different. It perceives a dense stream of chemical data, a layered narrative filled with biological and emotional information that you simply cannot access. There's a reason dogs focus on that particular part of the body, and it's not arbitrary. The groin region contains a high concentration of apocrine glands, specialized glands that release chemical signals tied to identity rather than temperature regulation. These signals are rich with biological information. For a dog, approaching that area is equivalent to opening a detailed personal file. It's the fastest, most efficient way to gather a complete profile. What seems socially inappropriate to you is, for your dog, the most logical starting point for understanding someone new. The amount of information your dog extracts from scent alone is far more extensive than most people realize. Through these chemical signals, dogs can determine biological sex and approximate age. They can detect hormonal fluctuations that indicate reproductive state. They can even sense changes in stress levels by identifying cortisol variations. Beyond that, research suggests dogs may also recognize early indicators of certain health conditions, including metabolic changes, blood sugar irregularities, and some disease markers, all embedded within scent. So in a matter of seconds, your dog is accessing layers of data that would take humans much longer to infer, if at all. But this behavior goes beyond physical information. Your dog isn't just collecting biological facts, it's building an emotional assessment. Each interaction answers deeper questions. Is this person calm or tense? Safe or unpredictable? Familiar or completely unknown? This process acts as a rapid trust evaluation system. It allows your dog to make immediate decisions about how to behave, whether to stay cautious, approach confidently, or keep distance. In many cases, this judgment happens before any visible interaction even begins, entirely driven by scent-based cues. While humans are still navigating social formalities, your dog has already formed a preliminary judgment based on sensory evidence. The sniff isn't just curiosity, it's a decision-making tool. Not all dogs approach people in the same way, and that variation is meaningful. A stable, confident dog typically investigates briefly, gathers the necessary information, and then disengages. The interaction is efficient and controlled. However, when a dog becomes overly persistent, ignoring cues, lingering too long, or repeatedly returning, it often signals something else. This intensity can point to anxiety, heightened alertness, or a lack of proper early social experience. In such cases, the behavior itself isn't abnormal, but the level of urgency is. That urgency reflects an internal need for reassurance. There's also a strong relational component to this behavior. Dogs tend to engage more calmly and fluidly with people they already know. Their movements are slower, their posture more relaxed, and their interaction feels less investigative and more familiar. When your dog sniffs you, it's not just gathering information, it's reinforcing a bond. It's a form of recognition, a subtle check-in that confirms familiarity and connection. Over time, this repeated behavior becomes part of your shared routine, a quiet, instinctive ritual that maintains emotional closeness without any need for training or cues. It also helps your dog recalibrate after separation, quickly confirming that nothing has changed in your presence, your scent, or your emotional state. In simple terms, it's your dog's way of saying, "You're known, you're safe, you belong here." If this behavior is natural, why do some dogs barely engage while others seem almost obsessive? Several factors contribute to this difference. Genetics play a major role. Breeds developed for scent tracking, such as hounds or certain retrievers, are neurologically wired to prioritize smell. For them, scent analysis isn't just behavior, it's purpose. Early life experience also matters. Dogs that weren't exposed to diverse people during critical development stages often compensate by gathering more information when encountering strangers. What looks like pushiness is often uncertainty. Additionally, baseline stress levels influence intensity. Dogs with higher anxiety tend to amplify normal behaviors. A quick sniff becomes prolonged. A brief check becomes fixation. One of the most overlooked aspects of this behavior is what it reveals about your dog's emotional stability. A dog that feels secure in its environment approaches new people with curiosity rather than urgency. It investigates, then often looks back at its owner, a behavior known as social referencing. This glance is significant. It shows the dog relies on you to interpret the situation. You are its point of stability. In contrast, a dog that ignores you and fixates intensely on strangers may be signaling a lack of emotional grounding. It's trying to make sense of uncertainty without guidance. So the behavior isn't just about the guest, it's about the dog's internal state. Managing this behavior requires understanding its purpose. Trying to suppress it through force, pulling the dog away, scolding, or punishing, doesn't address the underlying need. It simply interrupts a natural process and can increase confusion or stress. A more effective approach is redirection. Instead of blocking the behavior entirely, you guide it into a structured form. Teaching your dog to sit calmly when greeting someone creates a controlled entry point for interaction. From that position, a brief, appropriate sniff, such as the hand or lower body, can be allowed. This method works because it respects the dog's need to gather information while establishing boundaries that align with human social norms. What appears to be one of the most uncomfortable behaviors in dog ownership is, in reality, one of the most cognitively complex. Your dog isn't trying to embarrass you. It's responding to a deeply ingrained instinct, analyzing, interpreting, and trying to understand its environment as efficiently as possible. Each sniff is a question. Each prolonged interaction is an attempt to reduce uncertainty. And when your dog looks back at you afterward, it's seeking confirmation, asking you to define what it just encountered. So the next time this situation happens, pause before reacting. What you're witnessing isn't a failure of training or manners, it's your dog engaging with the world in the most natural way it knows, through scent, through information, through instinct. In that brief, awkward moment, your dog is doing something remarkably sophisticated. It's trying to understand reality 1 cent at a time. If this helped you understand your dog on a completely different level, make sure to hit the like button. It really helps the video reach more people. Subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive into your dog's behavior, and drop a comment below with what your dog does that always confused you. I read every single one.